Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I know it's been quite some time since I've done my last video, but life kind of has just got in the way. I've been a little bit busy. I haven't had a whole lot of time to get out. And I've also been doing a little bit of waiting. I actually got 2 stamps back last week, which is kind of odd to get 2 in 1 week. Anyway, I had a chance to get out and do a little testing. So what I wanted to do in this video is something that was inspired by a lot of the hate that I get in the comment sections, because the last couple I've done have been with a suppressor on, and you get those OG NRA FUDs that get all bent out of shape about shooting competition or for accuracy with a suppressor on. And they say, oh, you should never do that, it's not as accurate. Well, that may be true for your rifle and your can, but you just haven't really got a chance to test which one works for you and which one doesn't. So I figured that what better way to do that and get out there and do it for yourself, which is always the case. So real quickly, what I've got here, we'll go from left to right. One on the left is Silencer Co. Switchback. I bought this about 2 years ago, and I've used it a lot. It's been a really good can for me, very quiet. Not the lightest of the bunch, but it's not heavy. The one in the middle is a Thunderbeast Takedown, and the one on the right is a company that's somewhat local to me. The guys did some work on that old Rimex that I had and tried to fix it for me. Did a really good job, did what they could. It's Curtis Tactical. They're out of, I believe it's Middletown. Those guys were nice enough to give me that. And it's we'll go talk a little bit about that here as I go through them. So what I did was I wanted to get out and test not only accuracy, but the amount of point of impact shift that these cans had. So, and I had some very interesting results. So the ammo that I used was what I normally use to shoot matches with. It's SK Standard Plus. I used it throughout. All of this was at 50 yards. I could probably get out and do 100, but I think the results will pretty much stay similar across the board. So this is the zeroing. So I went ahead and pretty much got it perfectly zero so I could get a true impact shift for all these different cans. It was a clean barrel too, so it took a little fouling. So I figure what I'm gonna do is show you some results and then give you my notes about which can I thought worked best and what didn't. So what I'm gonna do is, like I normally do, is go from worst to first. And the worst one, surprisingly, for me, was the Thunderbeast Takedown, which averaged a little over half an inch. The top one there, you can see, is not too good, but it's still not terrible. Just slightly over a minute at 50 yards. But the thing that was most impressive about this Thunderbeast can, and I think it's what they touted a long time out of their rimfire cans and their centerfire cans, is it had absolutely 0 point of impact shift. And I zeroed this, put it right on the gun, and shot. The same with it I did with all the other ones. And the first shot in the top group there was actually right in the dead center. I was like, there's no way, that's got to be a flyer. And for the rest of them, you can pretty much see there's hardly any shift. One on the second from bottom there is not very good. A couple flyers, but I suck at shooting. But it is absolutely true what they say. There is 0 point of impact shift on these cans. Very impressive. So if you don't store your rifle with a can on it and you're in a pinch and you need to throw it on really quickly, this is definitely your go-to, at least out of the selection that I had today, because you know that you're not going to have to re-zero that. And granted, you can account for all the changes in your other cans, but I mean, when you're in a pinch and you don't want to think, just throw this thing on. No reason to change 0. So that's that. Average, like I said, 0.538, slightly over a minute, 0 shift up and down or left and right. Very impressive in that aspect. The next one out of the 3 is going to be the R22 from Curtis Tactical. Now here you can see it definitely gets into the point of impact shift. Not only up and down, but it started to drift a little bit to the right. So the numbers on this one were, the average group size was just slightly under minute, 0.490. But the big one is it had a point of impact shift of down 1.4 minutes. And this is just me measuring roughly through the scope reticle and getting an average. So it's not exact, but it's pretty close. And the shift to the right was sneaking up on a minute. So that's pretty significant. It was 0.6. So 1.4 down and 1.6 right. Now that's hard to account for because 1.6 is not exactly a precise measurement. So like I said, if you're throwing it on there, you're going to have to take into account that. So that one, I mean, pretty good accuracy still, slightly under a minute, but a big shift in point of impact change. So that's R22 from Curtis Tactical. And the most accurate, the can I usually go to because I've had it the longest, is a Switchback. And as you can see here, there's, I'd say on the very top one, this was a clean can. And clean, and I mean there was no rounds put. I had just cleaned it. And the first shot towards the bottom there was the very first round that I shot through it. And the rest, you can see it tightened up. So as far as accuracy goes, out of the Silencer Co. Switchback, there's pretty much no change. I mean, you might have it maybe opened up slightly. So the average out of these 5 was .423, which is pretty good. So don't let those guys out there tell you it's not as precise. You're not gonna. I'm not, as a shooter, not gonna be able to be any more precise than that. I mean, you're hitting the smallest targets you can as a shooter with that. One downside to this, though, I mean, you can see the massive point of impact shift down, getting real close to 2 minutes. I mean, that's fairly significant at 50 yards. They're pretty much measured through the glass about 1.75. Didn't really have any change left and right, measurable anyway. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty significant. So I usually keep this one on there to shoot matches, and I was surprised that the Thunderbeast wasn't quite as accurate as this one. But anyway, this was best as far as accuracy wise. So I'll just go through a couple notes that I had here. I kind of rated them on my own for sound, looks, quality, weight, accuracy, and I'll just go down through here. For sound, the Thunderbeast, from my ear, just kind of remembering going through them, to me, seemed the quietest. I mean, they're all pretty darn comparable, but this one just seemed to edge out the other two as far as loudness goes. The second in that category was the Switchback, and the third was the R22. Now, the R22, as you can see, is pretty significantly smaller than the other two, so you're not going to get quite that noise reduction. But for its size, it does a pretty damn good job. Now, next category for me is going to be looks. I think now that I coated the Switchback, I like the look a lot more than silver. Silver looks kind of silly, and it's really tactical now. But looks-wise, I like the way that the Thunderbeast looks on the gun. It just, the pattern and it being all black, and it's pretty much almost the exact same size as the diameter of the barrel. Thunderbeast, and then the R22. I can get a closer look at this. Now this one is pretty much the exact outside diameter as the rifle, so I had him coat it in like a tungsten gray. I should have had him do it black, then it would look like a part of the barrel. And then third, as far as looks go, I don't particularly care for the looks as much as these three on the Switchback, so I rated it third. Quality, overall quality, I gave the Thunderbeast the nod for this one out of the three. As far as build quality goes, the baffles fit really nice together. It looks good. Everything snugs up very nicely. Next would be the R22. Again, the end cap, you can hardly tell that it's machined on there. It looks like one solid piece. The baffles fit together really nicely. And the reason I rated the Switchback third is because the baffles are supposed to snap together on the inside, and about half of them do. So you have to find a combination, play kind of dominoes or whatever, Tetris with these baffles to try to get them to snap together, because when you go to thread it on and put them back in there, when you tighten it down, the baffles shift. So that's kind of the reason why I gave it the third place for quality out of these. Weight, obviously it's going to be the R22. It's the smallest can, very, very light. So if you got a hunting rig and you don't want to be weighed down, definitely using that one. The Thunderbeast second, and the Switchback, obviously, since it's the larger. It's not that much heavier than the Takedown, but it is slightly. So next would be accuracy. The Switchback was first, R22, and the Thunderbeast. Pretty close. The R22 wasn't. I would like to see a little bit of accuracy out of that, a little more, but it is what it is. And the last category I have is assembly, disassembly, and cleaning. For that one, I pretty much was a tie for first between the Thunderbeast and the R22, just because the way that the Switchback is designed, you have that middle baffle that you have to take out. The other two, you just pull the baffles out. They go back in together very nicely. I would say the Thunderbeast probably gets a nod over the R22, but they're pretty close. And obviously the Switchback is the hardest. Like I said, it's hard to align those baffles and get in there right. But one thing I do like about the Switchback is all the different configurations that you can have. I've shot it with just, they call it the short configuration with just this section here. I have a P322 SIG, and I put that on there, and it's pretty amazing how quiet it can be with just 3 baffles. There's a blast baffle and 2 short baffles, and it's hearing safe with out of the P322. I know it's a 22, but still, even if you're shooting unsuppressed, you're pretty much having to wear ears if you're shooting a 22 pistol, but not with this short configuration on there. So there it is. I mean, like I said, I think the most surprising for me out of all of them was going to be the Thunderbeast, just because it had that no impact change in point of impact. So like I said, it's very impressive. It's true what they say. I don't know if they market them like that anymore, but at one time they did. So that's for me. This gun, the way I shoot, pretty much no change in accuracy when you find the right suppressor, rifle, ammunition combination. And I mean, let's be honest, you look cool. And a lot of times, if you're shooting in a match, people really have to watch the targets because they can't hear you shoot with all the other activity going around shooting subsonics. Very, very quiet. So anyway, I hope this video was pretty informative for you guys as it was for me. If you have any questions or anything like that, drop in a comment. I love to discuss. I can't wait to hear all the hate about this. But I really appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you later.